Welcome to WIZZKWIZ tutorial 3. This is about the different types of questions you can get in WIZZKWIZ. So let's go straight into it. And there are a number of different types of questions that arise. In future tutorials we're going to do how to set those different types of questions, looking at these buttons here. But in this tutorial we're just going to look at what these different types of questions are. So the first one I want to look at, and I'm just going to put in the ID so I can uniquely bring up each type of question so I know exactly what I'm going to get. So I take that out. And the first type of question is the numerical question, where you get a graphical representation here. When you set these questions, you could randomly generate these numbers. You could also randomly generate the triangle, so you can draw a triangle in different places, that sort of thing. And all we need to do with this question is work out what x is. As it says, calculate x. Okay, so that is going to be 83 times sine 20. So let's just work that out. And I make that is 77.99449. We're asked to do that to 3 significant figures, so that's going to be 78.0. You don't actually have to put in the 0.0 there because that is still the right answer, even to 2 significant figures. Okay, so that is the first type of question. If you want to ask that type of question, you would do new numerical question type there, because you are entering in a numerical answer. Okay, so let's look at a slightly different type of question. Let's look at 3067. This time we've got a numerical question still, so you can randomly generate these questions with different numbers here and here. But what we've got this time is a multiple choice. We've got no graphics, so it's just a sort of standard question with a multiple choice. So Nellie cycles up the hill at 11 kilometers per hour, and she cycles down the same hill at 27 kilometers per hour. What is her average speed? Now the temptation here is to add that to that, get 38, divide by 2, and get 19. In fact, that's not the answer. The reason, you have to do a little bit of algebra to work out exactly what the answer is. The exact answer is in fact 15.63. This one. The reason it's 15, or the reason it's less than 19, is because if you go uphill at 11 kilometers per hour, you're actually going uphill for a lot longer than you're going downhill. So the average is much more weighted towards the slower speed than the faster speed. The way to do it is to just make an assumption, say the hill is 11 kilometers long or something, and then just work out the actual speed and the average speed. But the purpose of this tutorial is to simply show you how the question would actually work. So the right answer there is going to be 50.63. Okay, so it's quite a good question, in that tempting to put 19 for that type of question. Okay, let's look at another example. This one is 2991. And again, here you can see how you can have a question which uses a diagram. These numbers will be randomly generated. Okay, again, we'll come on to how you can do that. And we can have multiple choice answers where we've actually got, instead of having a decimal in the answer, we've got pi, a multiple of pi. So in this case, we've got a height of 8 and a diameter of 8. So in this case, the volume is going to be the height 8 times the area of the base. The area of the base is going to be pi times the radius, which is 4 squared. So 16 pi times 8. 16 8, 128. And so that's our answer. If you really like that type of question, or if you like exactly that question, you can put that in there and keep answering exactly that type of question. If you like that sort of question generally, you could put that in there and get loads more of those type of questions. If you think this guy's set of 15 is setting lots of really good questions, you could put that in there and just get other questions set by set of 15. So every time you get a question, you can see sort of where it comes from, what keywords it comes from, what setter it comes from, what the question ID is. So let's look at another couple of examples. So let's look at a a question which has a timetable built into it, just to show the flexibility with the different types of questions you can ask. Okay, so you wish to get to Glasgow from Rugby no later than 12:06. So here's Rugby 12:06, so that's too late, so that's the time, that's the one you want, from Glasgow, 8 o'clock. Okay, and we'll see later how you can actually put tables into your own randomly generated questions. So other types of questions, we've looked at multiple choice and we've looked at numerical. Let's look at a multi-true-false question. Okay, because that's a slightly different type. So 2571 is an example of that. And you can see here, this is a question about the rules of golf. So a ball is lost if it has not been found 3 minutes after being played. A lot of people think that's the right answer with the new rules. It's actually not, because the right answer is it's 3 minutes after the caddy or the players start looking for it. Okay, so it's quite a tricky question, this, because the wrong answers are quite close to the right answer. So this other one here, if it has not been found and identified 3 minutes after the caddy or player start looking for it, well, it doesn't have to be identified within the 3 minutes, it just has to be found. So that again is false. If you get 3 ticks, you get the question right. You also see here that the question setter has put in the comment section. We'll see how to do that later, but if you're not sure about that, you want to read up a bit more, it's rule 18.2a. Okay, so that's the multi-true false question. If you want to set one of those, you just click there and you can set that question yourself. And then the last type of question, you notice here, new bookwork. So a good example of that, it's a great for sort of learning poems or speeches, that kind of thing. So example 811. This one, keywords Richard II and Shakespeare. Okay, question setter is number 5. So we've got quite a famous speech from Shakespeare, and what you've got to do is basically it's sort of randomized all the different lines, and you've got to actually pick the right lines in the right order. Okay, so got that wrong. Let's try again. So that's clearly the first line. This happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in a silver sea, which serves in the office of a wall, or as a moat defensive to a house, against the envy of less happier lands. I think it goes there. Yep, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, this nurse, this teeming womb of royal kings, feared by their breed and famous for their birth. Now I'm struggling a bit. Good, renowned for their deeds as far from home. There we go, and we got the whole thing right. So you've got to get the whole thing right here to get the tick. So very easy way of getting students to learn poetry or practice certain poems or certain speeches or whatever. You can use it for mathematical proofs as well, but it's a bit more tricky to set up. So that concludes the different types of questions, and by the time you put in random numbers, by the time you put in graphs and stuff, there's all kinds of flexibility you can use for the different types of questions in WIZZKWIZ. And obviously you can get inspiration by looking at the types of questions that are trending and that kind of thing as well. Okay, so the next tutorial we'll be looking at how to actually enter those different types of questions.